La noche se acabó, pero tengo otra vez contigo. Le doy gracias a Dios, siempre pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Siempre lo pasamos bien lindo, lindo. Un verano contigo lindo, lindo. Me fui de vacaciones, baby, me perdí, buscando el sabor que encontré en ti. Canela con dolor de Bacardi, lo sentí, baby, me tiene desenfocado, viendo doble, bien borracho, demasiado jodido. Contigo, pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama. Tú y yo, un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Un día bonito, bonito, un día bonito, bonito. Pasándolo contigo en la playa, devorarte como el sol de la mañana, viajando todo el día sin drama, solo tú y yo. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot. Un día bonito lleno de alcohol, tomar un shot por ti, un shot para mí, un shot.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing all right. Okay, I just needed to test my mic there because I did a huge boo-boo today. I actually put my laptop in my bag, put my water bottle in my bag, and my water spilt into my laptop. So my screen is an absolute mess right now. The good thing is, after my last laptop palaver, I made sure to get manufacturer protection and insurance. So I just wanted to say that in case my laptop does suddenly go off during this live stream, or I have problems within the next few days, because I will very much likely need to get it fixed. But at least I have insurance after what happened last time. So, absolute disaster today. But anyway, I am back with a Saturday podcast and with quite a lot to talk about, because I wasn't here for a few days, but that's actually a good thing sometimes because we have so much to talk about. Today's going to be a mega pod. We're going to make today a mega podcast. This is probably going to be an hour plus long, so get ready. Grab your popcorn, water, tea, because we have a lot to talk about. And a lot of good things, actually. Harry and Meghan went a bit quiet at the beginning of September. And then now we have all of the things happening. I am so much looking forward to what's coming in the next few weeks. And it is the season of pumpkin spice lattes. And, you know, we've got our like autumn, winter wear out. We love. All right. I have to say, who's this? Church Nelly, member for 34 months. Thank you so much, Church Nelly. And also for being an incredible community member, not just on my channel, across the Squaddy YouTube space. You are just amazing. Can I also say, before we get into it, thank you to everyone who has followed me on TikTok. My TikTok has grown to, we're now at 729 followers on TikTok. I really regret not getting on TikTok. Oh no, 731 followers, sorry, on TikTok. I really regret not getting on TikTok faster, but I'm glad to be there now. So I appreciate everybody that followed me there. It is Duchess of Success Daily on TikTok. So if you want more short form content, go over there. Of course, I do repost on here too. Right. Let's get into it. First of all, wanted to share these pictures from Harry and Meghan's last appearance. This was at the annual fundraiser that they go to that helps raise money for first responders. And I hadn't seen these pictures. Just gorgeous. Look at how young and gorgeous Meghan be looking. So photogenic. No airbrushing needed here. Also, who watched the feature that Harry and Meghan did in the Disney documentary? I cannot play it here because the copyright police will murder this channel. But the Disney copyright police, and we know how Disney have been behaving the last few weeks. Don't want to be on Disney's bad side. But it was a very sweet feature. They just talked about their experiences at Disneyland. And yeah, it was very cute. Obviously I cannot post it here, but I am actually going to repost it. I should be able to repost it on my Instagram. So I will probably repost it there. Or just have a look at the Squaddyverse on Twitter and Insta. I'm sure somebody has already reposted the whole thing there. It was adorable. Very sweet. So nice little feature. Also, Miss Anne Harriam, friend of Harry and Meghan, an incredible photographer, he posted this. So it turns out when Harry was in the UK, he did take a moment to go and look at Miss Anne's exhibition. He posted, "Thank you for visiting my exhibition, Prince Harry. It was wonderful to show you my work and discuss the incredible space Aki has created for artists in the gallery. Art is important, especially now." Yes. Miss Anne, by the way, has been so vocal about so many issues on his Instagram platform and through his photography. What's going on in Gaza, in Sudan, in the Congo. He is just really incredible. He's really using his voice and his platform in the most incredible way. Also, things that are happening in the UK, it's getting, it is getting pretty wild over here too. And I'll get into that, I think, later on in the podcast towards the end, but a couple of things that I want UK squaddies to be very vigilant about. Also, let's go over to, some good news. Meghan has been nominated for a Signal Award. And the Signal Awards are for podcasts. Let me just had this somewhere. Hang on a sec. Yeah, the Signal Awards celebrate groundbreaking and culture-defining work in podcasting and audio, honoring the most innovative and impactful creators, storytellers, and audio projects that push the medium forward. The awards recognize potent, meaningful, and unprecedented audio projects across genres, including video, podcasts, and a diverse range of categories, from industry news and documentary to entertainment and cultural impact. And this was awarded for, I think it was business and culture. I think it was put in that category. But Lemonada the media company that podcast is, her podcast Confessions of a Female Founder was published under, they were actually nominated for 3 other podcasts also. So congratulations also to Lemonada Media. And you can actually vote for the Signal Award winner. So it is through online voting. You just sign up to vote. I will put the link in the chat now. So make sure you are going and voting. Congratulations to Meghan and congratulations to Lemonada Media, which is female owned, by the way. Meanwhile, you've got Spotify tanking. Artists pulling their I mean, it's just insane over there. Remember when one of the CEOs said, started trash talking about Harry and Meghan? And now look at Spotify. Meghan's doing absolutely fine over at Lemonada Media. Carol, you said, are you saying on TikTok when it goes to US ownership? Yes, I will be. I mean, most social media platforms are under US ownership or under the ownership of some large corporation, unfortunately. For me, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to leave the platform. I'm still on Twitter. I say until it becomes completely unbearable and they completely censor you, I will be on all platforms. Because if we instantly come off of those platforms just because of who owns it, then those platforms, you only have people on the opposing side taking up space on those platforms. So until it becomes horribly unbearable, or I'm just censored to the point where nobody can see my videos, I will be on those platforms. All social media platforms are unfortunately owned by questionable people until such a time independent creators or people in tech create new platforms. And the most powerful platforms, unfortunately, they're owned by people who we probably don't like. And that includes YouTube and Google. Lottie, you said you couldn't vote. I forgot my password. Can you try resetting your password or using another email? That will be one way to get around it. I'm pretty sure Meghan's going to win. I don't even know who else is in that category. Okay, also another major win for our faves. They will be getting an award, Humanitarian of the Year award, under the Project Healthy Minds, and they will be going to New York for this. Let me just open. They've got a whole schedule. Okay, here we go. Because there's quite a lot to get through. Okay, so on the 9th of October, the Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Gala will take place. This is going to be their itinerary, so put this in your diaries because we will be getting pictures. So the purpose of the gala is a fundraising and awareness gala celebrating mental health champions and supporting greater access to mental health resources. And for Harry and Meghan, they have definitely stepped into those roles, both through Archwell, the work that they're doing helping to prevent harm caused directly or indirectly through social media, and also Harry with Invictus. So Meghan and Harry's role to accept the Project Minds Humanitarians of the Year award for their work on digital safety and mental health advocacy. They will be honored for their Archwell Foundation creating the Parents Network, which supports families affected by online harm, and recognition for its mission to show up, do good, and for its long-term partnership with Project Healthy Minds to promote online safety and mental well-being. And then on Friday the 10th, the Project Healthy Minds 4th Annual World Mental Health Day Festival, which purpose is to have a public day-long festival designed to challenge the stigma surrounding mental health, featuring discussions, workshops, and artistic tributes focused on emotional resilience and well-being. And Harry and Meghan attended this last year and had a talk that Archwell organized. And so Harry and Meghan will co-produce and take part in panel discussions with figures such as Katie Couric, Dr. Becky Kennedy, and Deepak Chopra. And the Artwell Foundation will also host the Lost Screen Memorial, first unveiled in New York in April, which will be featured at the festival. I loved this memorial. I thought it was one of the most interesting ways of mixing digital and art and creative expression. I actually think that this should be a moving piece that is set up all over the world, because this is an issue that affects so many people, especially young people. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it was the artistic exhibition that it was giant screens with the names and faces of young people who have been lost because of social media, and then an explanation of what their situation was. And it looks especially prominent, like in the darkness of night, the glowing screen. A very brilliant way of bringing awareness to an issue through art and using modern technology to show that the very technology that's causing harm, but can also cause good and can be used for good. One of those ways spreading awareness of organizations like this. So very much looking forward to this. They are an incredible company. And it seems like this is something that will become a regular thing for Harry and Meghan to do. So mark that in your diaries, because we will be getting lots of Harry and Meghan on stage, Harry and Meghan pictures. V, you have been a member for 8 months. Thank you so much. V, I feel like you've actually been a member for much longer, but maybe you stopped your membership at some point and then rejoined. So for however actual long you have been a member or just been around, thank you so, so much. I appreciate you so much. Hi, Black Queen. Black Queen, did you just come in? Nice to see you. Okay, so there's two wonderful things. Meghan being nominated for the Signal Award, which she will likely win, and Harry and Meghan being awarded in New York, and we will actually get to see them. Right, next thing. Did Meghan tease some As Ever products? Meghan posted a story of her home. The cute little doggy, the interior of her house looks divine. And fans spotted one of the pots had the As Ever logo. Now, she could have just had that made for her house, just something nice with the As Ever logo on. But we do know that As Ever is trademarked for multiple products, multiple retail products. So I'm pretty sure that decor is coming. I am also rubbing my genie bottle, and I think that they should consider, if anybody on Meghan's team is listening, I think that they should consider home interiors for the next season of With Love Meghan. I think it should be home interiors, home renovation. I absolutely love home renovation. I think I actually like home renovation more than I like cooking. I can't remember the name of the show, but in the UK, there's this show where this woman goes around to failing businesses and she helps them renovate their businesses to make it more attractive to customers. I love that stuff. But home renovation also. I just think that it's just getting to get inspiration for your space, and it very much ties in with the As Ever brand and with, you know, the lifestyle aspect of the With Love Meghan show that is currently running. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping with the decor stuff, which I'm sure is coming, comes some kind of like home renovation, home inspiration, decor version of With Love Meghan. I would love that. All right, that is that. Next thing, what should we get on to? Was that number? I seem to have Messed up my slides. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, that's the itinerary, by the way. Oh, and the statement from Harry and Meghan, I actually forgot to read that out. They said, working with families and young people to prioritize safety online has been some of the most meaningful work of our lives as parents ourselves. We have been moved to action by the power of their stories and are honored to support them. We're proud to be long-term partners of Project Healthy Minds as we work together to shine a light on what remains one of the most pressing issues of our time. Prince Harry and Dr. Meghan. Lovely. All right, moving on to this story. This is very interesting. Oh my, oh my, oh my. My, oh my. Thank you to everyone who's streaming in. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Veronica. Hi, Carol. Hi, Susie Q. So, Livia Firth, who is a British designer and the ex-wife of Colin Firth, has decided to give back her MBE. And the reason she has cited for this is the UK US state visit of Donald Trump. Now, the first thing I have to say about this is I feel like there were already 100 reasons not to take a royal honor even before that visit happened. And also, the royals have been linked to all kinds of shady people for a while. But it would appear that Trump's visit is what pushed this lady over the edge. Now, she seems to be the only person who has decided to do this publicly so far. Funny, I actually predicted years ago that this would happen. I just didn't foresee that a Trump state visit would be what made it happen. But I'm pretty sure if we go back all the way down the Duchess of Success archives, there is a podcast where I did say that this would happen eventually, because the royal brand would just become far too toxic to be associated with. So let's have a read of this from Celeb. Livia Firth sent back her MBE after King Charles appeased Donald Trump. Okay, she talks a lot about Colin Firth and their marriage. So since Colin and Livia's divorce more than 5 years ago, I haven't heard much about her and she hasn't made much news. Apparently, she spends most of her time in Italy, but she and Colin are still very close. Well, back when she was Mrs. Colin Firth, she was honoured with an MBE, Member of the British Empire, for her work with sustainable fashion. This week, Livia ripped up her MBE certificate and sent back her MBE medal. She explained why on Instagram. Get ready for this. In 2019, I was given this MBE honor for my services in trying to make the fashion supply chain a more just and less deadly place to work for garment workers across the world. Although I stand against the British Empire and remnants of that toxic system, I accepted the honor on behalf of the many garment worker activists who had educated and supported me. Okay. I also had great respect for King Charles, who was then the Prince of Wales, and his decades battling on behalf of social and environmental justice. Okay. As I write this, we see that horrible excuse of a human called Trump in full flow in the UN General Assembly, his poisonous rhetoric amplified and legitimized. In fact, last week's display showed me nothing of those values I thought King Charles upheld, or its spirit, rather a frightening and cowardly display of appeasing someone who stands for the obliteration of the natural world and the most vulnerable people on earth. Because I can't reconcile those two positions, I have shredded my honor and I am returning it to sender. I know so many honorable, decent British people who would be unable to reconcile their deeply held values of fairness and justice with the grotesque pantomime we witnessed. I think it's only by taking a stand that we can make our feelings known. Yours, fairly, Livia Guagoli Firth. So, well then, good for her. I wondered if anyone else found the Trump state visit to be distasteful and grotesque, and here we are. Well, it's interesting. She's the only celebrity, and mind you, a minor one, who has spoken out like this to the point of literally giving back her royal honor. A lot of people who have spoken out about the Trump state visit focus mostly on Trump. I think they try to avoid mentioning the royals, especially a lot of British people, British celebrities. I've said before that I understand why world leaders placate Trump for the good of their countries, but I think it's completely fair to criticize King Charles or any head of state for going out of their way to roll out the red carpet for the demented orange toad. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Well, yeah, good for her. I wonder if anybody else will do this. Now, she's not the first person to turn down or return a royal honor. John Lennon returned his MBE in protest of British foreign policy. Michael Sheen returned his OBE. David Bowie, Roald Dahl, Stephen Hawking, Nigella Lawson, and John Cleese have all declined honors. Danny Boyle, the British director who directed Slumdog Millionaire, he was quoted as saying, "It's just not my thing." It's not his thing. So it will be interesting to see if now, going forward, especially after the Trump state visit, anybody else will do this. Bold move. Lottie, I don't know how anyone wants to be in. I think that's what you're trying to say. The company of Trump. I heard he smelled terrible. Yeah, apparently he has some rather awful health issues. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did smell terrible. Hi, Vera. Hope you're good. Love to you too. And speaking of Trump smelling terrible, apparently he left his room in a rather terrible state. Where is it now? Oh, do I even have it on a slide? Okay, I might have to read the article myself. But yeah, apparently he left his room in a rather terrible state. Wouldn't surprise me at all if this was true. Let me just find this. I mean, that whole state visit was truly it was something else. Oh, yes. So, total filth. Trump reportedly left Windsor Castle a mess with orange stained sheets and takeout trash as Melania refused to stay in the same room. Well, there were also other outlets reporting that they stayed in separate rooms. That the palace staff were apparently disgusted in the way that President Donald Trump left his room in Windsor Castle. I mean, I don't know what they would expect. They were. I don't know what stylist team they have or doctors they have, or what they're doing with this guy. They're just painting him in orange. It just looks awful. So awful. I think they think it will make him look more healthy, and it just makes him look worse, especially because his hands are all like blue and white. Ugh. He looks like he's deteriorating. But does it surprise me he left his room in a state? No. The guy is clearly not well. Also, for those of us in the UK, be more watchful. I feel like everybody in this space is probably quite watchful of media anyway, especially because of what we see with our faves, but be even more watchful. So we have a former GB News so-called anti-woke boss who has now been named the new BBC News director. Somebody from GB News is now the new BBC News director of programming, and his role requires the pursuit of truth with impartiality and accuracy. So basically, BBC is going to turn into a bunch of lies, and it was already going down the path of not being very relatable anyway. I have definitely caught the stench of anti-Harry and Meghan hate on the BBC in the last 5 or 6 years, and also during the Queen's funeral. There was a lot of censorship, dubbing of clips, removal of clips. I remember there was one particular incident where the royals had gone. It was during the Queen's funeral, and if you watch the original clip, there was booing. If you watch the edited clip, the replay, they took out the booing. And then also this happened For 56 minutes, Sky and BBC interrupted all else and carried a Reform UK feed live, uninterrupted and unchallenged. The stream froze, pixelated dozens of times, but they stuck with it for an hour. This is an editorial choice. No other party gets this coverage. Reform UK, by the way, for our US friends, they're basically the MAGA of the UK. That's the equivalent. And they're very politically aligned with MAGA in the US. So this is what we're facing in UK media at the moment. Please be vigilant. Okay, next thing. William has been throwing all types of tantrums since Harry's visit. Instead of focusing on himself, he's just been throwing tantrums. Kat Harlem, thank you so much for the super chat. You said, I heard prior to the state dinner that Charles didn't want to entertain Trump. However, Prime Minister Starmer insisted. Well, do you know what? That was a chess move on Starmer's part. Because actually, now that you've mentioned that, Kat, I think that he probably had Charles entertain him so he could avoid entertaining him. And he knew that Trump, with, being the grown baby that he is, would love the idea of being courted by the royals instead of having to trollop around with the prime minister. So you're right, Kat. He probably just had him shuttled off to Trump so that he wouldn't have to deal with him. And it worked, because now everybody is pointing fingers at the royals and mad at the royals, whereas they would have been mad at Keir Starmer, who I think just met him once. And he spent most of the time with the royals. I think that was a chess move by Starmer. Thank you so much for your donation. Just making sure I'm not missing anyone's comment. Okay. So, yeah, William has been throwing tantrums ever since Harry came to the UK for his visit. Leaks all over the place. And thankfully, Harry's comms team have hit back. Now, I do think that the new comms team that Harry and Meghan have is a lot better than the last one. I think they just handle things more better. I don't think it's wise to always hit back at everything, but I was frustrated in the past with the fact that the last team didn't always hit back in places where I think it would have helped. And I sense that this new team is trying to do that. And I think that's a good thing. So this coming out today, Prince Harry has described claims that he was surprised his recent reunion with Charles was distinctly formal is categorically false. Reports in the Sun newspaper claimed he even joked that he was made to feel more like an official visitor than a family member in his meeting with his father earlier this month. But a spokesperson for the Duke of Sussex hit back on Saturday, saying that this is an official statement from the Sussex's spokespeople. Recent reporting of the Duke's view of the tone of the meeting is categorically false. The quotes attributed to him are pure invention fed. One can only assume by sources intent on sabotaging any reconciliation between father and son. Presumably, those sources have also chosen to disclose that gifts were exchanged. While we would have preferred such details to remain private, for the sake of clarity, we can confirm that a framed photograph was handed over. However, the image did not contain the Duke and Duchess. Harry is reported to have handed his father a framed picture of his children, Archie and Lilibet. In a statement, a Sun spokesperson noted that Harry confirms the exchange of gifts, including a family photograph. They said that the paper story was a carefully sourced account of the meeting, adding, "We have today updated the online article to include his new statement." Do you know what? The thing is that there should be no sources giving any information on that meeting. Now we know that wouldn't have come from Harry's side. So whose side did it come from then? There was only one other person in that meeting, and that was Charles, or perhaps courtiers listening, or maybe Charles told the courtiers and they leaked. But the fact is that the Sun newspaper shouldn't be prodding around when it comes to matters like this anyway. There was a private meeting between Harry and his father, and whoever leaked, whether it was Charles or one of the courtiers, shouldn't be becoming a source for the tabloids. This conversation between Charles and Harry should not have gone anywhere beyond just the conversation between the two of them. And this is probably why reconciliation is never really going to be a thing. Because Harry can't have a conversation with anybody in that palace without there being leaks. My guess is that either one of the courtiers leaked, or William caught wind of maybe some things that were said in that meeting or how the meeting went down, and he possibly leaked. And he's just an emotionally, raging grown toddler. It's emotionally charged response from Harry. It is a particularly pointed and emotionally charged response from Harry and his team. I don't think it's emotionally charged. I just think they're correcting a wrong. See, this is the problem with the tabloids, even Sky News, which I am now considering a tabloid, using terms like emotionally charged. A lie was told, they corrected the lie. It is a particularly pointed and emotionally charged response from Harry and his team, suggesting that a story about his meeting with the king shows sources are intent on sabotaging any reconciliation between father and son. Yes, Harry, since leaving the royals, has been a lot more outspoken about how he feels. He's been treated by the press and sources inside the palace. But this comment is particularly swift, and the fact it's a quote from his spokesperson shows he deliberately wants to get his side out there, as he should. It's also indicative of a new team he's got in place. It also emphasizes how important that meeting was to Harry. The week that he was over in the UK was seen as a big step forward in terms of a reset for Harry, his work and public perceptions about him. But the fact that he also saw his father meant that him and his team could go home happy. It was the one piece of the jigsaw that wasn't entirely in his control, but it fell into place within a 15-minute meeting at Clarence House. Anyway, Sky News is rubbish. The tabloids are rubbish. It was a private meeting between father and son. Granted, I do think that Charles has some guilt to carry, but it is mostly just the tabloids that keeps this fire raging. The tabloids don't actually want reconciliation. They want drama because it feeds their narrative. The only time they wouldn't want drama is if Harry came back, and it's Harry they want to come back. Whenever they talk about reconciliation, it's always Harry coming back without his children and the mother of his children, which is just disgusting. But they still want to also abuse Meghan, and they make a hell of a lot of money with their hate-fueled clickbait. Vera, you said, note that reunion is not reconciliation, but it potentially can lead to it. Listen, I want whatever Harry wants for himself and his family. Let me just say that. But Harry's family, I think personally they are just there's no hope. I don't think there's any hope. I get the sense that Harry's going to do whatever he can to try and to do the right thing and take the higher ground, But I think his family is a lost cause. That's the phrase that I was trying to find. I think his family are a lost cause. I think William is an absolute lost cause. He's going to drive himself crazy with jealousy. I think Kate is a lost cause. She's going to hang on for as long as possible, for as long as she can. And she's obsessed with Meghan. and has no sense of self. Charles, I don't know. Harry seems to think that something can be salvaged there. But the problem is that they're all so deep in bed with the tabloids. And they are at the center of this bigger institution, this bigger idea and image of monarchy. And so they have to be that more than they can be Harry's family or a family at all. Because they're really just puppets for this big institution. Sorry. Yeah, no Luke's and Montecito, personally. Like I said, I want what Harry wants, and if Harry thinks there's something worth salvaging here, and some kind of peace can be made here, okay. I hope it works out that way. I sincerely do. I don't wish anyone ill, but I just have to report on what I've seen and heard. And what I've seen and heard over the last 7 to 8 years is that there's no hope for Harry's family. And if I'm wrong, I'd like to be told why I'm wrong. Because, honey, we've been on these streets all these years. Reconciliation would be lovely. Reconciliation would be the end of the tabloid narrative. Because then they'd have nothing to run with. No one's fighting. No one's at each other's necks. There's no, Meghan came in and ruined everything and got in between the family that was dysfunctional anyway, by the way, before she even came in. So if there was reconciliation, that would take so much power away from the tabloids. And I think we all want that, even those of us who don't like the other members of Harry's family. If there's one thing I think we all want, is for power and therefore money to be taken away from the tabloids. I just think at this point, Harry is trying to get to that point more than his family is. Yes, maybe Camilla leaked that. That's also true. Oh, how could I forget? Sometimes I even just forget she exists, to be honest. How could I forget Camilla? Yeah, maybe Camilla. Maybe Charles said something to her and she's the one who's leaking. We all know she's absolutely fuming at Harry. Camilla don't care about nobody but herself. Mina, you said we were talking about this on Discord and on a live that I was on. If Charles leaks those pictures of the kids, it's going to show that Prince Harry can't trust him. I don't think he would leak the pictures of the kids, to be honest. I don't think he would do that. I know they leak like a leaky tap all the time, but I don't believe he would leak a picture of the kids. And if he did, well, yeah, you're right. He would tell Harry everything he needs to know, but I honestly don't think he will. Kathy G. Wills has a spy in Buckingham. Suzuki, you say that Willie Leaks also benefits from the non-reconciliation. I don't actually believe that he does. It would actually look better for William's image if there was reconciliation, because right now William is just looking bitter and like a do-nothing. A do-nothing that does nothing but goes to football games. In the long run, I think it would actually be better for William's image if there was reconciliation. I think William probably feels like he's benefiting because in his mind, as long as Harry's out of the picture, at least physically, then he has less to compete with. But we saw how much fanfare Harry got coming back to the UK for just 5 minutes than William gets in a whole year. it would be to William's benefit if he reconciled with his brother. He's in a state of jealousy and rage right now, where he believes that trying to sabotage his brother is a way that he benefits or it helps his popularity. It doesn't. And they actually think Harry wants to rejoin that toxic cesspool. I mean, Harry said himself in the Anderson Cooper interview he will never go back to being a working royal. It doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't want peace with his family. Him wanting peace with his family doesn't mean that he's going to ever go back to being a working royal. And he said very clearly and very quickly in the Anderson Cooper interview when he was asked, no. That was his response. No. Benjamin, now they're saying it was a formal meeting with T. Why is it still being reported on weeks later? Exactly. Honey, they got nothing. That's why it's being reported weeks later. Harlem, you said, I think William or Camilla are the leak between the meeting with Harry and Charles. They want to disrupt reconciliation. Camilla would know about a photo. Thank you so much for the super chat, Cat Harlem. Lotte, you said, if they think that Harry is coming back here without Meghan and his kids, then they are delusional. And I do think that Meghan wants no parts of them. Yeah. I mean, she was in that plane, sitting in the plane last time when they came over, and she did not exit Heathrow Airport. Suzuki, I think Harry is fighting a losing battle. Well, one thing we can say about our faves is that they've always picked their battles wisely, and they picked them for a reason. And I'm sure, even if we don't agree with it, I'm sure Harry knows what he's doing. Because at the end of the day, we can only speculate from the outside. We don't know we only know what we've been told by Harry and Meghan, and we don't know any other intricacies beyond that. So, like I said, whatever Harry wants to do, I hope it works out for Harry in the way that Harry wants it to work out. Despite everything I've seen over the last 7 to 8 years. People can have a change of heart, you know? Charles is old. The grandkids are growing up. You never know. Helen G, you said, anyone who, like me, have followed the royals for decades will know the power games played in that family. Exactly. Oh, YM Droid, are you here? I responded to your email. I've just seen you've responded now. I'm so sorry it took so long to respond to your email. I will read the response that you just sent now after the podcast. Thank you for joining us, though. I appreciate you. Antoinette, you said, I believe that Harry's reconciliation is based on his peace of mind, not his family, because Harry had moved on and his mental health is in order. Yeah. Desiree, maybe there was a hidden recording that was done. You never know with these people. Not exactly the most trustworthy. Very, you said, I think it could be reconciliation at a distance, like resumption of private dialogue between father and son. Yeah. I also think, I think we forget, yeah. I think because the royals they're part of this, you know, they're part of this wider institution. I think sometimes we do still forget that even in all their madness, and even if they don't necessarily behave like a family, they are still a family, at least blood related. And I think that on Harry's part, he likely still wants his kids to have some sense of who their granddad is and who their relatives are, even with all the madness and the mayhem. Like, I don't believe that Harry and Meghan sit in their home talking nasties about their other family members to their children, you know? So I'm sure while Charles is still alive, he wants his children to have some sense of at least their grandfather. And I think sometimes we forget that part. And it's easy to forget that just because of all of the nasty things we've heard and that we know. Uh, um, okay, next thing. Fergie. Fergie was getting an absolute bashing in the press this past week. Many of the charities that work with her dropped her. Why was this happening is an interesting question, because I don't believe that this was information that was new to any of the tabloid journalists. It just came out of nowhere. It was even being reported on Sky News that she's being dropped. Not that I feel sorry for this woman at all, but it almost feels like she's being used as a distraction or sacrificial lamb. It just came so hard and fast that it was like, oh, where's this coming from? And then it also came after the Trump state visit. Now, there have been some Epstein files released. Apparently, Elon is on it. Tell us something we don't know. Prince Andrew's on it. Tell us something we don't know. I am actually getting tired of hearing about these Epstein files, just because all I'm hearing about is who's supposedly on these Epstein files. What I'm not hearing is who's going to be held accountable and how. Like, all these people that were apparently involved with him, how are they going to be held accountable? I'm not hearing any of that. I'm just hearing who was on the list, who was supposedly on the list. And then we have Fergie here, who was apparently sending him emails. And she was getting dragged, rightly so, this last week for it. But it's just interesting that this came out this week. You know who I haven't heard talking about this at all? Piers Morgan. Because we know if it was anyone that Piers Morgan doesn't like, he wouldn't shut up. It just shows you the double standard, and the standard that Meghan was held to and continues to be held to, but the other ones can do whatever they want. And of course, the cleanup campaign also came just as hard and fast as the as her getting dragged, as the drag campaign. And we have Maureen Hyde with this stupid article: spare a thought for right raw victim Duchess Fergie. She's not a victim. She's absolutely not a victim. I don't know why Sarah Ferguson was dragged this past week in the way that she was. Not that she didn't deserve to be dragged. She did. Anyone associated with Epstein deserves to be dragged. But it's just like the timing of it. Why did it come out now? Were they trying to distract from something? Because it's not like they don't have the power to hide these types of things if they want to. I'm also wondering, how is this lady even surviving? Is Andrew giving her money? Like, she doesn't work. She's not a working royal, so she doesn't get any of the sovereign grant, at least as far as we know. She doesn't really have any anything going for her outside of being Prince Andrew's ex-wife. So who's funding this lady's lifestyle? Or maybe that was the trade-off. Be the sacrificial lamb, and then we'll give you some cookies, since you can't make money for dough anywhere else. Let's go to your comments. Electra, Fergie is getting too old to be like this, indeed. Vera, Trump is on that list. I feel like this is what I'm saying. I feel like we already kind of know who was associated with the PDF file. I just need to know what's going to happen to these people now. Because, okay, the list comes out. Where's the accountability? Where is the accountability? Okay, we have the list. Where's the accountability? Helen G, you said, I read Beatrice has been dropped from one of her charities. Okay, I didn't read that, but that's interesting. Lottie, Fergie is getting what she deserves. She was not nice to Harry and Meghan. To be honest, Fergie, when asked about Harry and Meghan in public, I don't believe she's ever actually spoken ill of them. And Harry and Meghan invited her to their wedding, whereas I don't believe she was invited to William and Kate's wedding. So I will drag Fergie for a number of things, but I don't believe that she has actually ever been publicly mean to Harry and Meghan. Not as far as I can remember. You'd have to post me an article or something if I missed it. But she's been dodgy for a while. Susie Q. Sarah was dragged because of Kate smiling her face off with Trump. Yeah, some people were like they used this to distract from the fact that the other royals were getting battered because of the Trump state visit. So it's like they needed something else to distract from. But nonetheless, it was just a disgusting thing to do, to be sending emails to Epstein. Let's look. Okay, next thing. Yeah, Desiree, she has never said or done anything wrong about Harry and Meghan. Yes. I will drag her for other things, but I will not drag her for that. Because I don't believe she's ever said anything. Yeah, Willie, this whole thing about forces are trying to drive a wedge between the king and his heir. So this is actually written by Rebecca English, who is a royal rotor rat. So she is a propaganda mouthpiece. What forces are trying to drive a wedge between William and Charles? It seems like William and Charles, especially William, is doing a very good job of driving a wedge between him and his dad on his own. So what dark forces would have to come along and do that when it seems like William's doing that enough? He's doing it with his laziness, not working as much. I believe Charles is actually working with a small W, of course, because the royals don't work. Charles is doing more engagements than William, despite his age and despite being ill. Seems like William's the one driving the wedge. William will not get over his jealousy. William will not focus on building his own legacy. And at his age, that legacy should have been built already. All right, folks. I'm gonna wrap things up there. Thank you so much. Like I said, if you weren't here at the beginning of the podcast, I have done some water damage to my laptop. So it's surviving and fine now, but I'm going to have it looked at. But thank goodness, after what happened last time, I did get coverage. So I will get it sorted. But if for any reason I just can't come on, that's the reason why. So just to let you know. Trump gave Kate a present. Oh gosh. What did he give her? Any guesses on what he gave her? Did they say what he gave her? Hang on a sec. Legs just said, wasn't it Kate who said recollections may vary and Kate would take credit for all the horrible things done to Harry and Meghan? Says a lot about her loyalty. She cares about being an aristo. Cares more about getting that crown than anything else, even saving her own soul. Is the crown worth it? Is it worth losing your soul? Worth losing yourself? Benjamin, you said, let's face it, William can't stand his father and never has truly liked him. They have moments where they get along, but it's a dysfunctional family like many others. Indeed, a dysfunctional family like many others with all of the trappings of wealth, greed, and this ridiculous hierarchy. Annie, you said Charles did say he wanted a slim down monarchy. Yeah, he did. And he got it, but not in the way I think he imagined. All right, folks. I think that's going to be all. Thank you as always for coming along. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. Enjoy the rest of it. Thank you as always for your support. Thank you everybody for donating today. Appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.